right, let's open. Anton, please step on the mark here, and everybody else kind of shift around a little bit.
So, you're videoing this?
Yeah.
Okay, then we should have everybody away from there.
Yeah, we should be facing it.
All of us should be facing. Everybody shuffle over to this side.
Or shuffle over.
Testing real space. Testing real space.
Yeah. First time in the space, everybody. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're here to witness the challenge for the Prize of Scholar by our friend Anton here. Anton, welcome, and welcome again to all of our wonderful golf compatriots. Anton, you're here to challenge for the prize. Have you studied?
Yes.
Have you practiced?
Yes.
Have you fenced?
Yes.
Beautiful. We'll conduct the test in the good old way, star. We've modified the contents just a teeny bit in the order, so I'm going to be staring at my phone. Don't judge me.
What?
Okay, all right. First things first, let's begin. Anton, can you please give for us the mission statement of Emma?
Of course. So, mission statement of Emma is to research, replicate, recreate, and resurrect the knowledge, the skill, and the equipment of a fighter of the times of Fiore de Liberi. That is what I know about the mission statement of Emma.
So you mentioned Fiore. Can you please tell us about Fiore the man, his life, and his works?
Very well. So, Fiore de Liberi. First and foremost, what I must note is that most of what we know about the life of Fiore de Liberi comes from his own text, from his own work, from Fiore Studiatore or Fiore di Patari. For example, the Pisani Dossi version specifically says that it was written in 1409, and it also says that by that point Fiore de Liberi had been studying martial arts for 50 years. Knowing this, also knowing that children of nobility were usually acquainted with martial arts those days at approximately 10 years of age, it allows us to approximate Fiore's birthday to roughly 1350s. From the very same text, we know that Fiore de Liberi was born in Cividale dei Friuli at the north of Italy, in the family of Benedetto de Liberi da Primariaco. His early life was that of travel. He traveled through multiple German and Italian cities, studying under various German and Italian sword masters, included but not limited to Johannes Sovanus or Johannes the Schwabian, who in turn was an apprentice to a sword master named Nicolai de Toblem. But Fiore, of course, didn't just learn, he also taught. It is known that he has taught 7 apprentices over the course of his life, included but not limited to Piero Paolo d'Arverde, a German knight in Italy, Nicholas von Orslingen, the commander of German mercenaries in Italy, but most importantly, Fiore de Liberi taught Galeazzo da Mantova, to whom belong the words that without a fencing manual, only having a teacher, one can only learn about a quarter of the art, which is totally not enough to make one a master. And Fiore de Liberi wholeheartedly agreed to that notion, hence we have Fiore Studiatore. Unfortunately, simply learning and teaching was not just a part of Fiore de Liberi's life, it wasn't all of it. Across his travels, he met 5 self-proclaimed masters who were quite boastful of their skill, but in fact they lacked the knowledge even that Fiore de Liberi could have attributed to a good student. So he refused to share his knowledge with them. Because of that, he was challenged on 5 separate occasions to 5 separate duels. Each and every one of them was fought with sharp long swords, swords of cut and thrust, as more of an introduction mentions specifically, with chamois gloves and engamizons. And each and every one of them, Fiore de Liberi finished with his honor intact. So this brings me to his opus magnum, his greatest work, Theos Devidatorum or Theos de Bataria. Would you like me to?
Please.
Okay. So, first and foremost, I must say, all these texts were devoted to Niccolo d'Este, Marquis de Ferrar. Fyodor de Riberi specifically calls him a valiant warrior, wishing him best of luck in his future endeavors. Now, like I just said, there are 4 known versions of Theos Devidatorum. First and foremost, I'd like to speak about so-called Morgan, located in the Morgan Museum in New York. So its most distinctive features being the order of the place is reversed in comparison to the one that we're mostly used to the gift, for example. So it goes from the mounted section to sword, spear, poleaxe, and armor, to sword in 2 hands, sword in 1 hand, to the dagger, and to the wrestling. Most importantly, some of the wrestling and the dagger plates are only mentioned in the index. They're not in the actual textual body. It is not known when exactly it was written, only that it's written in medieval Italian. Next one is the source that we study. One of the most complete sources available to us currently, the Getty, located in Los Angeles. The order of the places the way we know it normally. So from wrestling to dagger to sword in 1 hand to sword in 2 hands to sword and spear and poleaxe and armor to the mounted section. Next one will be Pisani Dossi, a very peculiar one, I must say. It has 2 separate introductions. One in medieval Italian, which then is used throughout the entire manuscript, and then there is Latin. There are 2 separate introductions. They mean different things. The main textual body is written in medieval Italian, rhyming couplets and verses, which makes it interesting to read. It is another most complete source that we have currently, complete with textual descriptions and drawings. Has a few extra plays on it. And just like I said in the beginning, it specifically mentions the date when it was written, 1409. Last but not least, there is Latin, or Paris, or Florius. As the name suggests, it's written in Latin, located in Paris. Unfortunately, the less comprehensive language makes it a little less reliable as a source. The plays are colored, the drawings I mean, which makes it peculiar across all the 4 versions. And the order of the plays is similar of that to Morgan, which is from mounted section to the sword and spear and poleaxe and armor, to sword in 2 hands, to sword in 1 hand, to the dagger, to wrestling. That is what I know about Fyodor de Riberi's Opus Magnum, or Theos Devidatorum, or Theos de Bataria.
Thank you. Any questions about that content? No. So there's another person that is important to our basic curriculum here at Emma. What's his name?
George Silver.
Please talk about George Silver, his life and his works.
So what is known about George Silver? He was active from 1550s approximately to approximately 1620s. He was an English nobleman who had a particularly distasteful view towards every outsider, basically everyone who was an Englishman, especially towards Italian rapier masters who became prominent at the English court at the moment. He thought they fought recklessly, he thought they fought in false time, he thought they taught many good Englishmen to just die in vain. This prompted him to write 2 of his most important works that we know for now. First and foremost, it's Paradox of Defense, written approximately between 1598 to 1599. But unfortunately, the language in which the work was written was rather incomprehensible, so he had to make a bit of an explanation on his principles, which he did approximately 5 years later in My Brief Instructions upon Paradox of Defense. Unfortunately, it was not published until 1898 in a private collection. So, what is it so important about George Silver? When Fyodor de Riberi gives us techniques, plays, biomechanics, George Silver gives us the language that explains said techniques, plays, and biomechanics. What is this language? So, first and foremost, a principle of a true fight. Simple as this, we strike without getting struck. How do we strike without getting struck? Now here is George Stewart goes into more details. First and foremost, we do it in true time. What is a true time? There are 4 of them. So if I could imitate it's a tiny strike with the dagger. There is a time of the hand. Time of the hand and the body. Time of the hand and the body and the foot. Time of the hand and the body and the foot and feet. Any order of the times that is averse to this, for example, time of the foot and the body, time of the foot and the body and the hand. It's a false time. We do not present the threat before we present the target. So as you've just seen, I've presented myself, the target, and only then I've flung forth the threat. And anyone who fights in false time, George Stewart's worst nightmare, he gets killed. They get killed. So, in addition to true times, there are also 4 grounds, 4 governors. What are the grounds? First and foremost, judgment, distance, time, place. Let's start with judgment. Judgment is, as the name suggests, I'm judging tactical and technical characteristics of me and my opponent. I'm looking at their stature. I'm looking at their age. I'm looking at possible injuries. If I can deduce it, their experience, like I've seen them standing in post, or maybe they're actually fooling me. As well as, I'm also judging myself, what I know, what I can do, what I cannot do, my strengths and weaknesses. Now, all this gives me the distance at which I strike without getting struck. And once I figure out my distance, it gives me the time at which I move in to strike without getting struck, as well as the time gives me the place at which I strike without getting struck. Now the governors. Again, it starts with judgment, then it goes to measure, press in, lay out. I take all 4 grounds I have just discussed, and I put them in the judgment of the governors. Now, all those 4 grounds, they give me a measure. I start assessing threats and opportunities. I start thinking what I can do, what I cannot do. My opponent's threats are my opportunities. Conversely, my opponent's opportunities are my threats. So when I know all this, and when I see an opportunity to move in, to strike without being struck, when there are no threats present, I press in. But once the threat presents itself, I immediately fly out, which is why press in and fly out are called a two-folded mind. I move in once it's safe, I move out once it's not. So this is what I know about George Stewart.
Thank you. Any questions about that content? No? Good. Moving on, Anton, please, and feel free to gesture at the banner, please explain for us the Seigneur. That's
The Seigneur.
Yeah.
Sure. So, what do we see here? First and foremost, we see 4 animals. We see 7 swords, sometimes it's words on ones. And it all is centered into one person. So what does it all mean? First and foremost, we have an animal at the top. It's holding calibers. It's located on the hand of the person. It is the lynx. It is our prudencia, avisamento, judgment, knowledge that we have, which dictates all the principles of the true fight that we're adhering to. To our right, to the left of the person, there is an animal holding a heart. That is a lion. Artimento, audacia, bravery. The most important quality Fiore de Debate says a fighter must have, because without the willingness to put oneself on the harm's way, there is no true fight. Now, to our left, the person's right, there's an animal holding an arrow. It is a tiger. Yes. It is presteza. So, why is it there? Because once the judgment, those are audacity, now is the right time to come in, we can do it swiftly, faster than the flying arrow. Last but not least, the elephant and the woman with a castle on it. So what is it? It's our fortitudo, forteza, or simply put, posta. Our feet are our elephant, our body, our core is the castle. So why is it there? So when our judgment, that was our heart, our bravery, that we can enter swiftly, we can also do it with a structure. So in a structure we can both attack and defend, we can do it firmly. It is especially important when we're wrestling or when we are in armor, because this is where structure matters most. Now to the swords. These represent the longsword strikes. Would you like me to demonstrate them?
We'll save that for later. You can refer to them for now. It's fine.
Fair enough. So, teeth to knees, I must say. Those are pendentes. The horizontal ones are metanis, and knees to teeth, satanis. And then there is this sword, the punta, the thrust. Interestingly enough, there's only one presented here. Fiore de Riberi specifically says there's actually 5 of them. So, what exactly do you mean by this? There is a central thrust, which is probably the one represented here. And then there are 2 low thrusts as well as 2 high thrusts. Well, last but not least, there is this mysterious man in the center. This mysterious person in the center. There is no telling who exactly that is. It could be Fiore de Riberi himself. It could be a student. It could be an opponent. It could be a master. It could be practically anyone.
Well, he's always grumpy.
Well, I guess because we're seeing all those strikes, it's not exactly the most pleasant experience.
All right, that's wonderful, Anton. That's sufficient. Okay? One last part of the theory portion. Can you please kind of explain the parts of the sword?
With pleasure. So, this is the longsword. So it starts, I will start, I shall begin with the tip, going into the weak third of the blade, going into mezza spada, middle of the blade, going into the strong third of the blade. Now if I flip it over, it is going to continue into the handle with a tang hidden under all the, hidden under the handle, yeah. So through the crossguard, which has 2 separate quillins, and right into the pommel. So pommel, handle, and the crossguard, they make a hilt. Now, a few more points about the blade, no pun intended. The edge aligning with my knuckle is the true edge. Now, the edge facing away from my knuckles is the false edge. If I turn the sword, true edge, false edge. Now, approximately 3 inches from the crossguard, I don't know where it is here. Excusez-moi. Here we go. So there is a center balance. All our cuts, basically all our strikes, they all rotate around this spot. Now, if I notch the pommel, oh, perfect. If I notch the pommel, there are 2 spots on the sword that are not going to vibrate. So one is between the weak and the middle of the blade, this spot. Then there's one somewhere approximately under crossguard. So these are points of percussion. Less vibrational energy goes through them, which assumingly makes this spot between the weak and the middle of the blade the best to cut with, because it's affected the least. And this is what I can tell you about the longsword.
Which parts of the longsword are functional weapons?
All of them.
Any questions about the Senyo or the longsword contents?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, Brian first, please.
Sure. You mentioned that the man could be many people, but who is he really? He is you.
Looks like Anton.
And you. He is the one who is doing this.
Understood. Thank you.
Russell?
You've described parts of the sword as weak and strong. Why is the tip of the sword weak and the base of the blade strong?
It all comes down to physics. Essentially, if I try to manipulate my hand from here, I feel here most leverage. I have less control over blades if somebody aggressively presses against this side of the sword. Whereas here, I can actually give myself quite an opposition. It's strong because I have stronger presence here. There is less leverage impact here.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Good. Okay, I'll take that back. All right. So that suffices for the theory portion of the test. We'll move on to the practical portion. Anton, please demonstrate for us with whatever commentary you think is sufficient or necessary, the footwork that we use.
Footwork, of course, yeah. Let me begin with our basic stance. So, approximately shoulder width between our feet. The front foot, 60% weight on it, pointing at my opponent. Sorry, Mr. David. My back foot, straight but not locked, 40% weight on it, approximately 45% degree angle from the center line. Head over shoulders over hips. This is our basic stance. Now, if I take this basic stance, and I turn it 90 degrees, still looking at my opponent, that would be our vuelta stabile. I use it to gain a momentary distance without doing any additional steps. Now, there's a second basic turn, the mezza vuelta, or simply put, passing step. Done like so. Note that I am not turning my back foot until I've completed the step. Otherwise, I'm going to telegraph my intention. Same for the back step. I do not turn until it's done. Now, last but not least, there is a tutta vuelta, a full turn, done like so. Now, I'm doing it 180 degrees, but in reality, it could be done at any angle. Now, in completion to this, there are also an accrescimento, an increasing step. So it's like a half step. And if I do two steps with both my front foot and the back foot, it's a shuffling step. I can commence with the back foot as well. Same with the decrescimento, decreasing step. I can start with the front foot and complete with the back, or I can start with the back foot, complete with the front. Now, in addition to all this, there is a traversing step, which is mezza vuelta done a wider angle off the line. And to complete this step, I'm going to use a mini tutta vuelta, which is a variation of tutta vuelta, which is a small turn. I can do this with a traversing step where I could increase off line, recover.
Okay, that's sufficient. Can you please, without commentary, put those all together in a little drill for us and demonstrate all that footwork together?
Of course.
I'll tell you when to stop. Okay, thank you, Anton. Questions about the footwork? Yep.
Could you comment what are the advantage and disadvantage of using very wide stance and very large steps?
So, with a wider stance and steps, I'm having more structure. At the same time, I decrease my mobility, which would be a disadvantage.
Good. Right.
I noted that you stepped toe to toe. The weight came down on the toe first with every step. Why?
I understand. I'm landing on the ball of my foot. Why? If I try move with the heel, I'm not going to be very swift on the turn. I will be less mobile. But with the ball of my foot, I'll be very swift. I have more pivot when I'm using the ball of my foot.
Good.
I just would like to comment that
Yes.
I've been out in the world today and seeing all kinds of swordsmanship many places. This is the only place that I've seen that teaches people how to step appropriately. You did it very well.
Thank you very much.
He's still defending, exactly.
Sorry, Anton.
All right.
Bye.
It's good, kid. Don't get caught.
Any forward questions? Without compliment, you get it? No, all right. Moving on to the wrestling portion, okay? Andrew will, here's Andrew. Andrew will be doing some, while Andrew gets ready, Fiore tells us there's 8 things that a good wrestler needs to know.
Yes.
Can you tell us about those 8 things?
So, for wrestling, Fiore Deriberi says we need strength, we need speed, we need a knowledge of advantageous strikes, blocks and breaks, keys, dislocations, throws, and there are also strikes of malice into the temples, eyes, nose, throat, under ribs, stomach, groin, into kneecaps, basically every weak spot in the body. That is what Fiore Deriberi says we should know as wrestlers.
Fiore leads off all of his sections with posta. Can you please demonstrate for us all of the wrestling posta?
With pleasure. So, Tota Porta di Ferro, full iron gate. This is a low posta, which opposes frontale, the high posta. Now there is also Dente di Cinghiaro, the boar's tooth. The bent arm is opposed by the straight arm, the bladed posta, posta longa. These are the four posti for abbracciare.
With your help of your Zagori, can you please demonstrate for us the first 6 plays of wrestling from the get-go?
Yes.
Please do everything twice, and the second time without commentary.
Of course.
Okay, proceed. And please have the one more thing. Please have the center of your action on the little X there on the table.
Very well. All right.
Proceed.
Mr. Andrews, could you please grab me behind the back of my head? So, in this position, I'm bent. I need to regain my structure, my fortitudo. That's what I'm going to do. I'll ball up his elbow in longa, regaining my structure, stepping in. This is my first play of wrestling. Now, let's switch spots to it again. Once again, please. Now, if you grab me by the back of my hand again, please. I'm going to do the exact same play, gaining this straight hand, but now I'm going to bend to the boar's tooth. And bend Mr. Andrew to the ground, to full iron gate. Now we can switch spots, please. Once again. Now, if you please grab me by the back of my hand, but with the bent arm. Now from here, I cannot use my first blade. What I can do instead, I can push my opponent by the chin into his weak triangle right there. And optionally, make it like it would turn into a throw. Now let's switch spots and do it again. Please. Now, Mr. Andrew, if you could please grab me behind my back, one hand high, one hand low. Thank you. So from here, I'm going to step inside my opponent's footwork. I'm going to push him into his weak triangle once again. And this is the fourth play. Let's switch spots and do it again. Again. Last but not least, you could please grab me. Actually, no, not last. You could grab me behind my waist, please. Both hands low. Perfect. Again, shear into the weak triangle. But this time, outside of my opponent's footwork. Okay, switch spots, do it again. Once again, please. Now, last but not least, you could please just grab me by the back of my head. I just push the elbow. The universal counter, as Fiora Database calls it. And I can do this again against, you can throw a punch.
Yeah, so what does it mean? What do you mean when you say universal counter?
So Fiora Database himself says that the elbow push can be done against anything flying into my face, which makes it a universal counter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions about the rest of the content? Anyone want to see things again? Carol first.
First play of grappling, what type of positioning from your opponent's arm are you trying to achieve?
I need a straight arm from him.
Yeah, so he's giving you a straight arm. When you do your play, what type of positioning are you trying to achieve with his arm? What do you want the result to be after you do your play?
If everything went well when you did the first play, I'm going to rephrase your question.
Yes.
If you did the first play and everything went perfect, what do you get?
Oh, I got an arm bar. I got a lock, essentially.
Okay. Do you want to show it?
Yes.
Okay. So please show the first play again.
Of course. So, I'm popping up my opponent's elbow, essentially tracking it here. It is straight, and from here, I can continue to the second play, which will be a lock, essentially.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good? Carol?
Yeah.
Great one.
During your demonstrations, you said that we try to throw the opponent in the direction or the triangle. Could you please explain what those are?
Oh, fair enough, let's do it. So, when I stand in my poster, you draw an imaginary line between my feet. These spots, one in front of me, the other one behind me, are left. So essentially it's an imaginary square, and I'm occupying two opposite angles of it. The ones that I'm not occupying are my weak spots, my weak triangles. If you bend me this way, or you push me that way, I have no structure there. I'm going to fall. And if I switch feet, do it this way. Now, these are my weak triangles. I cannot allow anyone to bend me this way or push me that way. I will fall. Which is why they're weak triangles.
Beautiful, thank you.
Good?
Thank you very much.
Turn.
What about your footwork and your opponent's footwork distinguishes the fourth and fifth play opportunities from each other?
So ideally, I'm supposed to be, for the fourth play, I should be having the same post as my opponent because that allows me to step inside his poster. That makes the fourth play. And in case I have a mirroring poster, so basically our front foot are facing each other, that way I'm better off stepping outside of my opponent, and that makes the fifth play.
Would you like me to demonstrate or is that sufficient?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Others? I thought I was over here. Okay. Good. All right. Let's move on to the wrestling bit, the end of the wrestling bit. So, Andrew, please wrestle with Anton, and Anton, please demonstrate what you know. Okay. Give him a harder time, Andrew.
By his nose.
Don't let him get his hooks in on this.
Okay, stop, look here. And these are balls. Oh, okay. All right, thank you, Andrew. That suffices for the wrestling portion. Okay, please get it there.
Some water.
Yes. And open some water, yeah. A little sip of water. Aaron, please. Still good?
Yep, all good.
Okay. All right. The dagger portion. Let's begin where we always begin with post-up. Please demonstrate for us the post-up dagger.
Of course. So, Tutta Porta Ferro, full arrow engage. Now, my right hand goes over left, grabs it, and it will be Tutta Porta Ferro doppia. If I straighten both hands, it will be Tutta Porta Ferro doppia incrociata, full arrow engage, doubled and crossed. Now, there is Tutta Porta Ferro cum la Dagger, full iron gate with a dagger, which is only mentioned in the description of the full iron gate. Now, if I put my hand over the blade, the monkey grip, it will be Mezzana Porta de Ferro doppia cum la Dagger, middle iron gate, doubled with a dagger. If I switch my grip, shortening the posta, that will be Mezzana Porta de Ferro doppia incrociata cum la Dagger, middle iron gate, doubled, crossed with a dagger. Now, something I should say. Tutta Porta de Ferro cum la Dagger, or I should have started with Tutta Porta de Ferro. So both these posted, because of their superior reach, but lack of structure, they're better out of armor. They're worse in armor. Every single shorter doubled posta, because of its superior structure, but lack of reach, it is better in armor, worse out of armor. However, Fiore de Riberi specifically mentions one exception, and it is Mezzana Porta de Ferro doppia cum la Dagger. He specifically says that it's both strong in and out of armor. So this is what I know about dagger posting.
Thank you. Using Aaron as a target, please demonstrate for us the basic attacks of the dagger.
Very well. So first and foremost, Mandrita. 10 to 15 degree angle, targets from the temple to the elbow, done like so. Next will be reversing. As the name suggests, it is Mandrita, the reverse, same angle, 10 to 15 degrees, same targets, temple to the elbow, done like so. Now, the next strike is Vendente. Done either overhead or in a horizontal line. Targets are top of the head, middle of the chest, done either like this, or my opponent has an open visor on the helmet, I will angle it like this. Now last but not least, if I switch my dagger, grip. There will be a satani. Targets are no higher than center of the chest. Why? Because if I try to strike higher, I'm going to lose range. And like so.
Okay, go back around the clock, show us it all again, twice around, no commentary.
Yes. Twice, of course.
Yep. Thank you. Before Fury gets into all the plays of the dagger, there's a single page with 4 masters on it.
Yes.
Can you please tell us about those masters?
Of course. So, first and foremost, there's a master of disarms. The one holding an enemy dagger, keeping his own on the belt. Then there is a master holding straight toward arms. That means it's a master of locks and breaks. There is a master with a giant key. That's the master of keys. And last but not least, a master standing on top of a fallen opponent holding a palm branch. That's the master of throws. An interesting detail about those 4. They are all dressed differently. Starting with the master of disarms, as they progress, or should I just say they go further, they grow a larger beard, become older, and they are dressed more affluently.
Does that mean larger beards make you a better person?
Yes. No idea.
Does that mean build is larger than? Anyways, we're getting off topic. All right, thank you. What is the purpose of this page? Why show the masters? What is Phil trying to tell us with this page?
So the masters themselves demonstrate techniques, or yes, they demonstrate techniques that we could do with the dagger or against the dagger.
Okay, any questions about dagger attacks opposed to masters? All right. With the air initials of Yori, please demonstrate a disarm, a break, a key, and a throw, as well as the basic defense against all 4 attacks. Okay? Whenever you demonstrate a technique, please do it twice.
Of course.
And the second time without commentary.
Yes. So, first and foremost, I will start with the place in the first remedy master. So, Miss Sarah, if you could please give me my data and state. Knife edge, I'm going too longer. Knife edge with the increasing left step into my opponent's wrist. I grab it, prevent the escape, and then my right hand is free to do other things. Now, if you could please 6 plus 3 together. Once again, please. Now, can you please give me my data hand against state? That is a disarm. After an initial defense, I'm rotating the hand, gaining this dagger from this cavity. If we switch, do it again. Now, you can please give me a mandata and state. After an initial defense, I'm giving my opponent something to think about, and I lower my center mass, pass under the elbow, right behind it, and that is my lock or break. We can switch spots and do it again. Now, Miss Sarah, if you could please give me a mandrita and against state. So after initial defense, I'm slithering down my opponent's forearm, double up, bend it. That is the middle key. Switch slots it again. And last but not least, the throw. If Mr. Aaron, you can give me a mandrita and pull back, please. So what I did, after the initial defense, I'm entering in with the back of my hand, squeezing his throat, turning him over my head, as well as straightening my opponent's arm, lifting him off the ground, making it all the more uncomfortable. We can do this again, please. So this was the first remedy master. Now we're going to the third, the reversing. Same idea. Disarm, welcome break, key, throw. If you could please give me a reversing and stay. This is how I defend. Knife edge behind the elbow, knife edge on the wrist, grab, and then other place follow. You switch spots. Now, Mr. Aaron, if you could give me a reversing and stay. So, I've essentially switched the two-handed grip to the single and rotated with a knee to the wood. Straightening the arm, it could as well be a lock. We can do this again, please. And I also lower my center mass. Now, Mr. Aaron, you could please give me a reversing and stay. Once again, please. Now, you could please give me a reversing and pull back. So what I did, after the initial defense, I stepped inside my opponent's poster while pushing the elbow upwards and down. I'm exploiting this joint right behind the elbow. So once again, please. Now, last but not least, if you could please give me a reverse and pull back. Let's switch spots together. So after having beaten my opponent's arm down, I'm entering with a throw similar to the first Remedy Master one. Except I don't have another arm to control. Once again, please. So, next will be the fourth Remedy Master. I'll demonstrate defense, disarm, lock and break, key and throw. Please give me a vendenti and stay. I went through tutto porta di ferro to frontale, right hand over left, with the left increasing step. Left hand keeps holding, right is free to do other things. Let's do it again. Now, if you please give me a vendenti and stay. My right hand free to do other things. Bends the dagger exactly into the elbow, as Fiora suggested.
Can I just pause you very briefly? So you're giving Aaron certain instructions. You're saying stay, push through, pull back. For the benefit of some of our audience, what are you doing there with Aaron? What is that instruction mean?
Yes. So there are three so-called energies that could follow the strike. So my opponent, if I say that stay, essentially my opponent just gives me a strike and stays there. If I say push through, that means they're going to give the strike more energy, more power. They're going to keep pushing through, either by doubling up or by any other means. If I say pull back, that means they're just going to retreat after my defense.
And these are things that they may do, and you're just responding to what's happening.
Essentially, I am acting on the energy they're giving to me.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Please continue.
That was second disarm demonstration. That was it again. So that was disarm. Okay. So now, you can please give me a fendente push through. I turn it essentially to a reversing disarm, but without disarm. Once again, please. Now, please give me a fendente pull back. I step behind my opponent's poster in a 95-degree angle, bending his arm back. Can you do this again, please? And that breaks his structure. Last but not least, you can please give me a fendente pull back. Pushing the elbow up on the cross, picking the leg, and that's a throw. Again, please. Last but not least, ninth remedy master. So, you can please give me a satani and stay. Stepping offline, kicking my rear out a bit so that I'm not getting stabbed. Left hand keeps holding, right is free to do other things. Let's switch spots to it again. Now, you can please leave me as a tiny and stay. Again, I'm pushing to my opponent's elbow through this cavity. We can do this again. And that's a disarm. Now, you can please give me as a tiny and push through. I'm bringing my upper elbow under his upper arm, locking it up across both my arm and essentially myself. We can do this again. Now, you can please give me a satani and pull back. Together, please. Last but not least, you can please give me a satani and pull back. And if I keep pulling, my opponent pulls.
Please do.
He likes it.
Once again. And if I pull on my opponent's leg, that will just add the insult to the injury. That is the treatment, the crowd pleaser.
Why do we always have to do that, place? Right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was it, right?
Yes, those were the plays I was demonstrating over there. Yes.
Does anybody have any questions about Dagger contact? Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, one thing.
Okay, if you wanted to break someone's arms, what are the ingredients necessary?
I need 2 points of contact. One of them being somewhere in the wrist. Most importantly, here, 90 degree with a 90-degree pressure into the joint. And then, like I said, 2 points of contact, 90-degree pressure, so that the arm guaranteedly breaks.
Could you please demonstrate one of them?
Very well. Sarah, if you could give me a reverse and stay. I'm going to turn this all the way up. Coming down onto the elbow. If we can switch spots. So here I'm turning his elbow all the way up. It is here, right for me. And I'm coming down with an elbow.
That's not his elbow. That's okay.
Is that sufficient?
It's enough.
Okay. Next, Grant.
I have a similar question. If you can explain some similarities in mechanics between a disarm, a break, lock, and a throw.
So, for all the similarities are, for all of them I need 2 points of contact. The differences are for key and disarm, and basically for a throw as well. I need 2 points of contact in the rotation. For the lock, I need that pressure instead of rotation.
Correct.
Could you show with one more time the key that is available after the Fendente defense?
Yes, of course. You can please give me a Fendente pull back.
Okay.
show you one more. That is an uppercut motion under the elbow, and then I'm pressing with both hands on the wrist.
Any other keys you want to see?
And
What else? All right. Let's finish the Dagger section. We'll then go on a 2-minute break. But we'll suffer a little bit more. So, mask up, okay? And don't do the I know you've heard of the attacks. Aaron is going to attack you with a series of attacks, and you're going to, as you did with the wrestling, as best you can, demonstrate what you can.
very well.
Okay? All right, please proceed. Give him a slightly harder time, man. He deserves it. Okay, pause. One last question, Anton. So throughout your presentation of the Dagger, you've demonstrated some strikes, right? Some uppercuts, some jabs and crosses. What is the function that those strikes are playing in the Dagger? Why do?
Yes. So the function of those strikes, for example, the one that I'm doing in the first Revenue Master second is to distract my opponent, give them something to think of while I'm performing the play.
Okay. Thank you. That's sufficient. Please take your mask off. We're not going to break for 2 minutes. Remember your places. We'll all resume here in a couple of minutes, no longer. Okay? Please get some water. Go.